said sometimes films and books and songs often make the audience root for the character who gets payback. The tension builds until wrong person finally delivers a blow, making the moment feel satisfied and just. Retaliation. Okay, but here's one I want you to really think about. How is bitterness disguised? How is bitterness disguised? Think about it. You may ask yourself, I know what bitterness is, so how is it disguised sometimes? When we're talking about forgiveness,
I was going to say, but it's kind of conflicting, that bitterness is can be disguised by not participating or just kind of backing away. So it's like, I'm not going today, or I'm not going to be in that anymore, but you don't project that when you're around the people that you do.
Very good. Well,
you know, bitterness can be just like, it's a phoniness type thing, but it's not because you really know you don't like the person. You just don't show that you don't like them because of whatever situation. It may be a job situation and you don't want to look a certain type of way to the people, but really, you really don't like them. And so they don't come to your house. You don't go to theirs, or whatever the situation is. It's just you hide it. You hide it until you get in the position where you can say, really, I don't like you. And I remember we had a chief that I did not like, but while he was working with us, we were working with him, I couldn't tell him that I didn't like him. But when I got to the sheriff's office and I seen him in the courts and he was working under me, I don't like you.
Somebody else?
I've seen it where people will smile at you, hey, what's this, how that, everything, all smiles and everything. And every opportunity that they had, they would put a problem in front of you, do something to you. And the whole thing is that happened to me one time, and I didn't know it, but this guy didn't like me at all because of my lifestyle I had cars, I had a home, I had all this stuff that he didn't have, but yet still he didn't desire to have a job like I did. And then one day that me and him and some more people were standing outside by my car talking, and all at once, boom, I done got knocked, my teeth got knocked out. And I didn't know that. I said, whoa. And then I had a hard time saying that I'm not going to get you. But then all at once I said I didn't. And then one time, sometime later, I saw him at a place, he was at a place where I showed up. And he was going to stay there the night with the people. But when he saw me, And I said, oh, you the guy who knocked my teeth out, huh? You know. And then I left. He left because he thought I was going to get somebody to come and do a number on him. But I didn't. I mean, I just had to let it go because no matter I got my teeth fixed and hey. But bitterness is disguised in so many different ways that hey, you don't know what's in a man's heart. So that's it.
When I think of bitterness, I think about what it does to the person who's bitter. Because you're wasting your time and your efforts on what you don't have, and why do they make it? Why didn't I make it? Why didn't they get it? Why can't I get there? And you sucking off the liveliness from yourself, worried about someone else. So I think it's something you really have to try to, they were there probably for a good reason. Maybe they're just better for you. You just have to accept the fact that, they can sing better or act better or, so you just have to kind of, I think it's something you get out of your own heart because it doesn't really affect the other person that you're bitter about. It's affecting you and you're losing,
Hold on to certain things. Yeah. So, anyone else? A couple of things I note down here as far as bitterness also can turn to sarcasm. In other words, instead of openly admitting hurt, bitterness can serve as a constant sarcasm, criticism on people. In other words, when I have a chance, because I'm still mad at you, I'm still disappointed, but I'm not showing it publicly. But when I have a chance to, take a shot at you, I'll do it with a smile. But inside, I'm really happy. I'm getting back because I've been bitter about these things you have done to me. Also, see, there's another one that I had down here. A crusade for justice, a legitimate desire for fairness can be twisted into a personal mission fueled by resentment, where the goal is really payback. See, some of us just said it can disguise itself in a whole lot of ways. You can ask yourself, it's just, self-examination. No, I have to. Just even in the past week, ever really had some kind of resentment or bitterness towards anyone that they don't even know about it? That they don't know that I feel this way because I haven't openly expressed myself to them. And so to your point, eats me up inside every time I see them or look at them or something like that, and they have no idea. They have no idea. You may have no idea. You could have been at somebody's house and for a dinner and then end up breaking their crystal glass. Back in the my grandmother and back in the days, you had crystal. If you broke that thing, you may not be coming back over for dinner. But just when we think about it, this is why this area of trying glowing in forgiveness is really, it's not easy because we have to also look openly. What has it done to me? Am I really over? It may take some time, but as long as I acknowledge it, some things I take time to get over. Then I complete, but I the better. So this is why Jesus says that he calls us to a higher way. That's what we read last week in Matthew 6:14 and 15. He ties our forgiveness of others to the forgiveness we receive from God. Not because we earned it, but because forgiveness is a sign we experience grace ourselves. everyone in this room at some point, sometime, even still today, God has shown grace. God has shown. Just think on just your own life. I mean, some of the people I used to be around, some of them are not around no more. And like that could have been me. But for whatever, God showed me grace. A whole lot of. And so when we're talking about is that, just that's how he wants us to get to the point where we have opportunity to show others grace of something that did, said, or whatever like that. We have an opportunity to. We should look for that because we've been made a lot of mistakes in our lives. Did some things that, we don't even want no one else to know what we have done. But you see me now, you didn't know me 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's always one. But that's where we are. And then Paul echoes that same thing in Ephesians 4:32. Calls the church to put away all bitterness, wrath, anger. Instead, choose. That's the word. Choose kindness and compassion. It says why? Because Christ forgave us. The gospel compels us to forgive. Not when it's easy, but when it reflects the mercy we receive. See, forgiveness is hard. We went through that last week. Forgiveness is hard. It's in a way of almost unnatural. We have in our humanistic, our tends to saying, you do something to me, why am I'm going to get you back. Depending on what you say something bad to me, I'm going to. That's almost a natural reaction. But we want to get to where sometimes that, even though it's hard, but when I reach a certain point in my life, my spiritual walk, some things I see better than before I start speaking, before I retaliate. I got a little bit because I may have grown in some areas. This guy, he must wake up on the right side of the bed this morning by him yelling at me. Something must have went wrong. I'm going to try and give some grace. That may not be who he is, but he's going through something. Okay? Our natural thing is to come back by the way, something on what it is. Comment?
You said something that reminded me of change. When my company left Richmond and went to dealing with some of the people up, they did things, causing me problems, didn't do anything. And a friend of mine, who'd been knowing me a long time, and worked, he told the people one day, he said, you people are lucky. And they said, you mean lucky? For what you guys are doing to John, he's been waiting at you at the gate, or he's been at your house, waiting for you to do. And then my whole thing is, when I asked, don't you see what they're doing to him? I said, well, what's in a man's heart, so is he. And then started just saying kind things. When they say something bad, I would say something good, or the other way. And it made themselves look ugly, so they stopped messing.
And that's again, that's a testimony to you, saying I'm letting God shine, even though you guys may understand. But I do hear that at times when people say, how do you let, how do you let these things, people say things to you and you don't, how do you handle that? And a lot of times, you know, the easiest answer is not me. It's maybe God in me. And sometimes I say that, you know, you don't know it, but God just saved you. And you can smile and say, what, I mean, look at, what are you talking about? Just don't know yet. You know, well, again, I will go back to what Paul said, uh, that put away not to all this, you know, bitterness, wrath, and anger. But I said that earlier, the thing is choose to love, to be kind, even though someone's not to you. You know, it's not easy all the time, but the choice is, you know, now I'm relying more on God's power to help, the Spirit to help me. Because what I want to do, I have a desire to do, I want to choose God because He already knows. Um, so that, you know, a lot of, and we have, I've seen people, you may have in the church, have some tough things happen to them. How tough things how people treated them. I've seen that, but also I've seen where they made choices too. And beside how I'm being treated, I'm still going to choose to, you know, love you, help you when I can. And when I see that in different people, it's encouraging to know that there's a God to help in this. Because you know how sometimes we say, if that was me, that would be a whole different ballgame. But you know, when you're able to see people do it, now you have the opportunity to think, wow, and I react to some things or do some things that's really minor compared to what I'm looking at happen. You see, so sometimes those things are put in front of us, for example, and God knows who can handle what sometimes. And sometimes if we watch carefully, it's giving us opportunity to say, wow, that I want to get there to that. Now, it may not be everything they do or something like that, but if I'm going through something and I'm feeling a certain way and I watch somebody else, that's powerful for me. Wow, thank you. I was thinking a whole different. So, okay, let's see. Okay, it says, so the gospel compares us to forgive when it isn't easy, but when it reflects the mercy that we receive, forgiveness is hard. It costs something, but it also frees us from the darkness and the resentment, and allow Christ's light to shine through a radical counterculture way. In other words, this is what I'm saying. Sometimes, because our whole thing is glowing in forgiveness. Okay. Sometimes you don't got to say nothing, but you can see people who do it, and I say, man, that is really beautiful. That is, they really let their light shine like that. That's usually the way that's the way that we all desire to get to consistently. But again, emphasizing that it's not. It's a work. It's a work, not easy. I'm emphasizing that because I don't want you to think that, hey, we can just do it. I can just forgive and have no problem at all. No, it's a work. There are some things that's going to be tougher than others. But I think the bigger point is that, yes, you can with God's help. Man. So, a few more things here. Jesus makes forgiveness a condition of our spiritual health. Why do you think that? Why does he say that? Why does Jesus make forgiveness a condition for our spiritual health?
Did it because he loved us. It really goes back to understanding that he knows way more than we know. And he means what he says. I don't know if he ever went, but like in Matthew 18, there's a great example of like what happens when you. He means what he says. I encourage you to read verse 30. There is a.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll read it. And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturer until he could pay all that was due to him. So because he didn't forgive someone after he was forgiven for so much more, he had to deal with something in a way that was like, come on, man, like you went over a little bit. You weren't willing to let go of a little bit. And now you got to pay back something you can't. He did it for us already. Jesus did it for us already. We just have to accept it and understand. Did it for everything. To cover everything. All of sin and
Very good. Anyone else? I think she hits a lot of good points with that. So then he says, bitterness darkens our witness. Forgiveness restores light. Bitterness. I didn't think that my light can shine in this area anymore. That can be from a very personal level, through family, through the church, through, I was telling you, jobs. My light is shining now. It's not dim. So I was able to get through it. Okay. Says God's forgiveness is the model. Gracious, undeserved, and complete. We all know, it's always been said, we don't deserve. We're thankful, but we don't deserve. When you think about, I talked about this a little bit last week. You think about on the cross when Jesus said, "Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." That took something. When you think about just that alone, we don't deserve. But God's grace and mercy, and it's easily that when we truly understand where we were at one time and what God did for us, boy, I better start working on some things on some other people. May not forget it, but I need to start working on it very heavily to say, you know what? I'm not going to bring that thing up against you anymore. Sure, I'm going to be wise in some things. Sure, I am. But if you need something and I can help you, and I'm going to help you. I'm not going to use that against you to say, oh, well, you shouldn't have done in the first place. No. When I understand what God has done for me, see, these things, we got so many ways we can go. But I'm just trying to put out the point that flowing in forgiveness takes some things that I have to start doing some things to have that bright light shine in an uncomfortable situation. As you said, bitterness dims your light. Forgiveness free both the offender it frees them. Let me say this. I may have hurt Kevin one day. And I came to Kevin and apologized, and I sincerely want to make that right. Because I've hurt him, I realized I hurt him, I was wrong doing it. Now, Kevin may be very hurt, but for him to allow God to free him from this, I gotta forgive. I gotta forgive. Okay? It doesn't always change the circumstances. We may not be best friends again, but we'll at least be able to have a conversation. It frees him, it frees me. There's nothing like coming to church, knowing that someone don't like you or you don't like someone else, and staying so far apart that you never run into them. You don't want to talk to them, you don't want to see them. We have a full church now. You got to sit here, and that person you don't like got to sit right next to you. We might just go, I'll go stand in the parking lot before I take that seat. That's very hard. So, I have a question for you. How does forgiveness block the flow of life? Block. Last question for all of us. What steps can we take to grow in forgiving? What are some of the steps that we can take to grow in forgiving others?
I believe what it is that you pray about the situation. You ask God to help you get that thing out of your mind. All the time that you are thinking about it, the person that you think is happy life. They not think about none of what you think. You putting the hurt out because your way is that's on your mind. I just pray God help get this past. I pray about that enough. Some way it starts being removed. I do.
Okay? Okay. I would.
Jesus says that we should love our enemies. He says, love your enemies. And I'm looking at this. Ain't my enemy. Okay. Jesus says, forgive your enemies, love your enemies. When I thought about that, I'm like, because the word, if you allow the word to dictate the way you live, you're gonna forgive somebody. Because Jesus says, if you don't forgive them, I'm not gonna forgive you. So if you allow the word to dictate your life, and you're thinking about Jesus says, give me man, y'all got it. You got it. You got my forgiveness automatic. And if you need something, I'm there. Because you don't want to miss out on the forgiveness of the Lord. Because that's a lot bigger than what you talk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, you read my note, but
I want to start with us. really know some. Yeah, it takes a miraculous God to expect us to. So it starts opening up great that forgiveness is trying to, right? And I know we feel it, have that moment, and we're like, ugh, can't stand that moment. You already feel literally, I don't want to do this yet. And I've literally had that conversation, right? Oh, no, I have to go, but I'm not ready, Lord. I'm just not honest. Oh, and this flesh hurt. I'm feeling it right now, Lord. Please give me some time. Hurt. And as I do that, I'm opening my heart. And once I do that, then I can start moving towards that, right? Like, I don't know what they're going. I don't know what, right? All going through something. All have our flaws and well, myself. So it's easier to forgive when I right. So that's the, that. Then I can release. Then I can let you out. No, no, he let me out of jail. I every boy, I need to get out of every.
Well, I kind of, this is, our time is up, and I actually want to just, this go on so much in this particular, I always get to, but thank you for participation the last 2 weeks. Really appreciate it. I just hope, trust, pray that we, as we look at all these different lessons we get, that we really always examine ourselves, see where we can grow, get stronger. With that, pray with me. We thank you, Father, for the time you've given us this. We thank you so much for uh, just allowing us to express ourselves and examine ourselves and work on the areas, the things that we need to work on to draw closer to you towards everlasting life. Continue to be with us as we prepare to go to our worship service. We love you, we need you, and we appreciate you. Pastor, I pray.